They told you he was a hero. They told you he stole fire because he loved the warmth of your hearth. They lied. Prometheus didn't look at humanity and see children to be saved. He looked at us and saw an army to be forged. He knew that as long as we were cold, we were obedient. As long as we were shivering in the dirt, Zeus could sleep soundly on his throne of clouds. Fire wasn't a gift. It was a weapon of mass insurrection. Before the chains, before the eagle, and before the mountain, there was a dinner party, a feast at Mecone, where a Titan decided to play a game of chess with a god. And in that game, humanity was the pawn that would eventually checkmate the king of Olympus. Welcome to the beginning of the Great Deception. Prometheus was a survivor. During the Titanomachy, the war that ripped the world apart, he watched his own blood, the Titans, fall into the abyss. He stood beside Zeus, not out of loyalty, but out of calculation. He was the forethinker. He saw the winning side, and he took it. But standing on the peak of Olympus, looking at the golden halls and the laughter of the gods, Prometheus realized he had replaced a chaotic old world with a cold, sterile new one. Zeus wanted order. He wanted a world where the mortals below were little more than cattle. Prometheus hated order. He missed the fire of the old world. He began to spend his days in the mud of the earth, shaping clay. Some say he actually breathed life into the first man. If that's true, then we were born from the hands of a traitor. He gave us eyes to see, ears to hear, but he kept us in the dark. Why? Because a secret is only powerful if you know when to reveal it. He waited. He watched Zeus grow arrogant. He watched the humans grow desperate. And then came the invitation to Mecone. The feast at Mecone was supposed to be a peace treaty, a sacrifice to define what belonged to the gods and what belonged to men. Prometheus slaughtered a massive ox, the finest beast in the land. He split the carcass into 2 piles. This is where the tragic villain reveals his genius. In one pile, he hid the prime, life-giving meat under the rotting, disgusting stomach of the ox. In the other, he piled the worthless white bones, but he draped them in a thick, shimmering layer of succulent fat. It looked like the prize. It looked like the portion a king deserved. Zeus descended from the clouds, his eyes glowing with the hunger of a tyrant. He looked at the 2 piles. He looked at Prometheus, who kept his face a mask of stone. Zeus reached out. He grabbed the pile of fat. He thought he was taking the best part of the earth for himself. But as he peeled back the fat and found only dry white bone, the temperature on Olympus dropped 40 degrees. Prometheus didn't flinch. He had just legally tricked the king of the gods into letting humans keep the meat, the strength, for themselves. He had won the first round, but Zeus doesn't lose. He just changes the rules of the game. Zeus looked at the humans shivering below, clutching their raw meat. He couldn't take back the ox. The deal was struck, so he took the sky. He reached into the horizon and pulled the fire from the world. He plunged humanity into a permanent freezing night. Let them have their meat. Let them eat it raw in the dark like the beasts they are. Zeus whispered. For 1,000 years, humanity died in the cold. We were a failed experiment, a joke told by a god. Prometheus watched from the shadows of the mountain. He saw the children freezing. He saw the civilizations he had dreamed of crumbling into ash. He realized tricking Zeus wasn't enough. To save his creation, he would have to commit the ultimate sin. He would have to break into the forge of the heavens.
He stood at the base of the divine mountain, a hollow fennel stalk in his hand. He knew that if he crossed that line, there was no going back. He knew that Zeus was waiting for him to slip. But what Prometheus didn't know was that the fire wasn't just heat. It was a trap. Zeus wanted him to steal it, because the moment the fire touched the earth, the gods had a reason to unleash something far worse than the cold. They had a reason to create Pandora.
Prometheus didn't just break into Olympus. He broke into the forge of Hephaestus because he knew that Greek mythology was a system built on a monopoly of power. He knew that the king of the gods, Zeus, wasn't just hoarding heat, he was hoarding the very spark of human consciousness. Without fire, we were cattle. With it, we were a threat to the throne of clouds. He stood at the threshold of the divine mountain, a hollow fennel stalk in his hand, a weapon so simple it was an insult to the gods. He knew the labyrinth of the heavens was guarded by power and force, but the forethinker had already seen the end. He knew that every step he took toward the primordial fire was a step toward the Caucasus Mountains, where the eagle and the chains were already waiting. If you're ready to see how the tragic villains of history actually lived, hit that subscribe button right now. We are documenting the fall of the Olympians and the true origin of humanity. Don't let the fire go out. The ascent up Mount Olympus was not a battle. It was a silent infiltration. The gods were celebrating. They were intoxicated by their own immortality, laughing at the shivering creatures in the mud below. They believed that by taking the fire, they had won. They didn't realize that for a Titan, a win isn't just a single moment. It's a long game that plays out over eons. Prometheus moved past the golden gates, his shadow stretching long against the marble. He didn't use magic, he used the one thing the Olympians lacked: foresight. He knew the patrol patterns of the Hephaestian guards. He knew the exact moment the sun chariot would dip below the horizon, leaving a window of vulnerability in the divine forge. As he entered the chamber of Hephaestus, the air became thick with the scent of molten gold and ozone. The primordial flame sat at the center of the room. Not a campfire, but a roaring, sentient force of creation. It was the energy that forged the thunderbolts of Zeus. It was the energy that could burn the world to ash or build a civilization that would one day challenge the stars. Prometheus didn't hesitate. He thrust the fennel stalk into the heart of the flame. The wood didn't burn. It cradled the fire. It hid the light within its hollow core, turning the most powerful weapon in the universe into a traveler's stick. He walked out of the forge as a god and descended to the earth as a traitor. When he reached the first human settlement, the world was a graveyard of ice. He saw a child huddled in the corner of a cave, their breath a white mist in the dark. Prometheus knelt. He tapped the fennel stalk against a pile of dry leaves, and for the first time in 1,000 years, the world turned orange. The heat was a shock. It was a physical blow to the order of Zeus. As the humans gathered around the flame, their eyes changed. They weren't looking at the ground anymore. They were looking at each other. They were talking. They were planning. The fire didn't just cook their meat, it cooked their ambition. Prometheus stood back in the shadows watching his creation ignite. He knew that across the world other fires were starting. The secret of fire was out. It couldn't be taken back. But as the warmth filled the cave, he felt the first cold drop of rain hit his shoulder. He looked up. The sky wasn't dark because of night. It was dark because of fury. Zeus had noticed.
In Part 2, we go inside the forge. We witness the heist that burned the world, and we see the first link of the chain being forged in the heart of a volcano. Don't look away. The eagle is already waking up.